Hello. I'm going to crouch down. That'll probably kill my feet. Hello. So this is Tuesday. What's the date? The 14th of April. And today, look at that strange pattern going across me. Isn't it nice? Ooh. It's like disco. Anyway, just talking rubbish as usual. So I'm just waiting for people to pop on. Though you're probably watching this. If you're watching this on YouTube or somewhere, just ignore me. Or you're watching on Facebook, not live, just ignore me. Just go and take it on a little bit till you find me doing the moves. So I hope this finds you well. I hope you're all safe and sound, and all your families are safe and sound. I'm going to come a bit closer. I'm a bit worried about this falling over. I've got it up on the table today for some reason. Just thought I'd change the angle up a bit. Change it up a bit. So today we are... Hi Tina. I'm just rambling. Usual stuff. And not about peacocks. No, I was rambling about peacocks earlier. Anyway, so what am I going on about? We're just hoping that everybody's safe and everybody's sound and you're all okay and you're not bored. And your brain's working. I don't think my brain's working. Hi, Fiona. My brain doesn't normally work very much anyway, but hey ho. So I'm going to talk through the moves for today. We're going to do the trauma reflex. Hiya. And the trauma reflex is when the side of the body is a little bit wonky. Your hips are out of line. You might be rotated forward or back through one of the sides of the hips. You might have a draw down through the tight waist muscles that pulls your shoulder down, so you get neck pain either side. Might translate up into your head, might translate down into your feet, in your ankles. You might have a bit of a limp, you might have sore hips, you might get sciatica when the muscles are tighter on one side than the other. So the trauma reflex in somatics is it's not very nice. I mean, they're not very nice, are they, tight muscles anyway, but trauma reflex in somatics is really not very nice. So I know most of you that are watching who are in my classes, that you all have some sort of trauma reflex, some one-sided wonkiness. So as usual, we're playing to that, get that a little bit more lengthened. Yeah, and I need that today as well. My neck's doing all sorts of strange things. So I'll show you what we're doing. We're going to do our usual arch and curl. We're going to do a diagonal arch and curl and diagonal. Hi Sue. Hope you're okay. Nice to see you on here. So yes, diagonal arch and curl, and we are going to lengthen into those with our long arm and our long leg. Possibly our long leg, I'm not sure. We'll see. See if that's okay. We're going to do our lower back. We're going to do each side of our lower back in our, usually about 6 on each side separately, lower back arches. I'll show you these in a minute. And then we are going to do some knees side to side, and we're going to do some arms side to side. We're trying to get our waist, we're trying to lengthen our waist, and then we're going to go on to our, we're going to do our cross, our human X, and then we're going to go onto our sides and do our foot lift that we didn't do last week, that I kept saying we were going to do, we didn't do, and then our hip and Sue's just writing rude things on here. Sorry. And then we're going to do our side opener where we open into the shoulder and the neck. And Alison, if you're doing this with us, this is the one for you. Hi Sue Shackleton, long time no see. I hope you're going to join in, that would be nice. So I'm just going to show you the moves. I'm just going to do a quick run through of the moves that we're going to do at 6 o'clock. So I've got a change of angle. I'm very worried that my phone's going to fall off the table, but hey ho, we'll see. And so you can tell me which angles you like. So this is another angle. I'm just trying to keep my head. So you're not going to see me particularly, but you are going to see down my body and see what's going on. So I'll talk through it. We're going to do our arch and curl. Our arch and curl we always build up to in the first instant. Pelvis curls, that's a tilt that way. Pelvis arches, that's a tilt that way. So you can kind of see the angle of my hands. That's the way the pelvis is tilting for the arch and curl. We're going to build into that by doing some lower back work where we target each side of the lower back individually. So as we arch, Usually our knees aren't really doing much of anything, they're just sitting there holding us in place while our pelvis tilts forward and back, and our shoulders tilt forward and back at the same time as well. And we'll talk through the breathing as we go along. This is just for new people. If you know how to do this, most of you. And then we're going to, as we arch, send our right knee forward. So you may be able to see that it looks like it's going a bit higher. What it's doing is going forward of the left knee as I'm arching, and I'm trying to keep the integrity of my pelvis moving forward, down, and then we come back, and then we go into a curl with both knees just staying where they are. So we do our arch and curl, and then we will start sending a knee forward, trying to keep the pelvis down rather than tilting it over because we've pushed into the foot, and then coming back. So we're going to do that on each side. Then we're going to go into diagonal arch and curls, which means we tilt the pelvis off to one side and we press the opposite shoulder into the floor, and then we come back to the middle, and eventually we'll start bringing the knee to shoulder. And we'll either do that by elbow, or we'll do that just by bringing the shoulder to the knee. And then possibly some of us might extend into lengthening our legs down. So that's a bit more advanced. So some of you might just go into that when I explain it, some of you might not. So that's our arch and curl. Then we're going to do knees together, and we're just going to play into our waist this way. And then we're going to do our steeple. So this is quite repetitive of last week because there's only so many moves we can do in a short class that will target these areas. And then the rest of our time we're going to spend on our sides with our, I'm going to slide down a little bit higher up, aren't I? With a pillow under our heads if needs be, and we're going to bring our knees up to 90 degrees, calves 90 degrees. We're going to lengthen along our bodies. We're going to make sure we're all in line. If you're coming in and watching, I haven't started, we're going to start at 6 o'clock. I'm just explaining stuff. And then what we do is we make sure we've angled our bodies so that we're really on our side. We're not forward, we're not back. Our hips are stacked on top of each other, and we've got a nice straight line either side rather than kind of tucking in. And make sure that's all lined up, and then we lift our foot up. And when we lift our foot up, we can put our hand on a hip to guide it, and we're trying to squeeze into the waist muscles right on the top, not on either side, just right on the top. And if that's not happening, you might need to tilt back a little bit to feel that. That's a better angle for me. Or you might need to tilt forward a little bit to get your angle. We're trying not to switch on the muscles in the back and the front to do this movement. They're probably doing that already, and we don't want to keep doing that. We want to get these waist muscles that are quite short, quite limited, to actually do something, to lengthen, to allow that pelvis to maybe slot back into place or drop down or lengthen up into the arm. And then we're going to join that in with having the arm over the head and lifting up at the same time as we bring the foot up to squeeze into the side a little bit more, into the chest muscles, and we'll make the upper body our priority then because we'll have already done the foot. So we're going to do that one. You could do that with just your arm on your side and reaching down the mat, not to the foot. And we're going to talk all this through again. So if you're just watching this, we will talk through this while we're doing it. And then the other thing we're going to do is, with a pillow under your head or not, depending on how you feel, we're going to do our arm opening. A few rounds of arm opening, lying on our side, lifting up into that waist again, which should be nice and long now. All that lovely twisting, and then coming up and down in this range with our arm open, and then eventually twisting into the shoulder as we're squeezed up into our lovely waist muscles that are getting the message now. You'll be more into the sort of abdomen waist by this point, but that's all right because we'll have already worked this diagonal. So we're coming up, we're twisting into the shoulders. Okay, so these are our moves today. A little bit more limited than when I do a class, just for time and because of people coming and going, and because you're not in one place and keeping your attention for that long. Hi Sarah, hope you're okay. Hope you're feeling better. I haven't heard from you, so I'm hoping that you're well, as you're here, you're all right, aren't you? I hope you're going to stay for the class. Let me just check the time. Oh, it's getting on. So we'll get started, but I'll repeat all of that again. So all of that's gonna happen again as we build up with much more information. If anybody could just give me a shout that they could hear me when I was lying on the mat, that would be good. If somebody could just type in, yes, I could hear you, then at least I know that it's getting out and you've got some volume. And then if I see that, then we could get started. So I'm just going to hang on, see if anybody types that in for me. There's a few of you watching, so if one of you just puts yes, oh, thank you, or a thumbs up, brilliant. That could mean anything. That could just be somebody joining in. Hello, Alison Pearson. Looking forward to some cake from you. Dawn Burnett, hello. Always okay, Tina, thank you very much. Dawn, if you want to join in now, great. If you can't join in now, this will be on there for later and you can learn all about it. I'm going to take my glasses off because I don't need them, because I'm not going to read any more comments. I'm just going to lie down and start rambling away from the floor. So if you make sure you've got a pillow, make sure you've got your mat and you're comfortable, you've got nobody going to disturb you. Great, thanks Fiona. And then we can crack on. I'm going to get rid of comments so that when I do turn around and try and look at myself and see whether you can see me or not, or whether this has switched itself off, which it has done a couple of times, then I'll know what's going on. So let's body scan. So let's lie down. Let's take this wonderful time to just lie here for the next hour. Well, it's 45 minutes, but it'll be about an hour by the time I finish rambling away. And let's do nothing. So remember, somatics is going inside your body, so close your eyes. Make sure you've got no distractions. Nobody's going to walk in and start talking to you. We want to stay inside our bodies. We want to slow those nervous systems down. It's really important at this time that we get rid of all the trauma that's going on, the fight or flight, the nervousness, the anxiety. This is going to help with it. And let's just do nothing. Sink into the floor and then scan your body. We're doing the trauma reflex, which is the sides of the body. The muscles that tighten up in the side, the waist, the shoulder, side of the shoulders, side of the legs, bottom. So we just want to have a little scan up both legs. Let's do one side at a time. Let's start at the left. Let's scan from the left leg, all around it, travelling up, taking in each joint, just noticing what's going on. What can you feel? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel tilted? Is there pain? Scanning slowly up, have a look at the pelvis, the waist, the lower back. Scanning up, look at the front of the abdomen, the rib cage, the chest. When you're up to the chest and the shoulder blades, then travel down the arm. So scan right down to the fingers, taking in the elbows. Come back up into the neck and the shoulders. Have a good scan around your neck and shoulders on the left. Up into the jaw, the ear, up onto the top of the head. So all around that side of your face. So already I can pick up that my left back of the neck is sore. Something strange going on my ear. Might have just been where my glasses were. So that's what I'm looking for. Bits of information that I want to make sure they either change or they go away. And then travel down the other side of the body. So start at the top of the head and travel looking at that half of the body, around the head and the neck, the shoulders, into the right arm. And then work your way down. So in your own time. Some of you might still be on the left. Check muscles are switched off. So if your bottom muscles are squeezed in tight, you're holding on to some tension in the back of the arms, try and let go of it. Scan down, scan down, scan down. My right pelvis is doing something odd at the front and across the top of the thigh. So I'm hoping that this is definitely going to affect a change in those areas for me. Doing the trauma reflex. This is my wonky tilted pelvis. It shows up occasionally. And then when you've scanned, think about bringing your legs up. So we're going to the crooked position when we do bring our legs up. If you haven't finished scanning, carry on. Otherwise, we'll be bringing our legs up, take one knee out to the side. Hopefully most of you aren't watching me do this. If you're new to it, you might just be watching it for the first time. You might watch a bit of it now and decide to come back later. So So this is the crooked position with our knees up, backs on the floor, feet hip width apart, feet parallel. You just slide your feet together and take them apart again. You'll know that they're parallel. They're in line with each other. Focus on your breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Ignore my neighbour's dogs. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Slow the out breath right down. We spend the next couple of minutes doing this. In through the nose, out through the mouth. This is where we're slowing our breathing down. We're working to have a calm, controlled nervous system that's not reactive, that's ready to receive the messages we're going to give it when we do our slow, controlled movements. The breathing is going to slow our breath down, take in more oxygen, calm everything down, change the chemistry. Focus on the sides of your body. So as you're breathing in, we're trying to aim our breath a bit further down into the body. If you're not breathing down into your belly, then thinking about that. If you're breathing up into the shoulders, watching how that movement is, and then taking your attention a bit further down each time. So we want to bring the breath down into our lower abdomen without forcing. So that's why we do it in slow increments. I want to feel how the breath going down into our lower back affects us. Give ourselves time to adjust to this breathing. Keep softening. Soften your jaw. Once you're down into the abdomen, once you're feeling that your breath is coming down to the pelvis, lower back, front of the abdomen, you may even be expanding down to the thighs, to the bottom. Then we'll start to think about arching our backs, tilting the pelvis forward at the front, going into an arch with the in-breath. So you're going to try and control that, breathing in, arching the back gently. I know some of my class people will be already starting, they'll already be off and away, arching, might even be going into curls. Let's stay within an arch for now. If you've been doing more of these, some of you probably have been getting into this every day. You're probably noticing that this is easy now to just go straight into an arch without much effort. I'll try and speak in between the barking dog. So I'm just arching my back gently, letting my pelvis tilt forward. I'm not pushing into my feet. I'm trying to keep everything else soft. Just feeling how my back releases. This is the area where we hold a lot of tension. There's a lot of layering muscles, all doing all sorts of things. And we want to start getting the muscles that hold our waist. Pull it out of place, pull the pelvis out of place. So we're really being specific, targeting our lower back. And when you feel able to, what I want you to start doing is start bringing the shoulders in. A little press of the shoulders back as you arch, just to involve the whole back. Might be tiny, might be quite big for some of you, but make sure you're watching what's going on. You're not just doing this in a kind of, oh, I'm just doing a pattern, I'm just going to keep repeating it. You're watching every part that you add in. If you're watching your right side, watch it for a little while, then watch the left side. Notice how the spine feels, the upper back muscles, the shoulder blades. Does it affect the arm and the neck to do any of this movement? Make sure you're asking yourself different questions as you move around the body. How does it feel here? What's going on over there? What's that muscle doing? So we're just arching. We're arching the whole length of our back in whatever small way we're able to. We're not pushing into any pain at any point. And if there's any bouncing or jumping or you've got no control, then you make it much smaller. You go back to a much smaller movement till you can get control, and then you make it a bit bigger again. So we're going to do 3 or 4 more arches, very slow, very controlled, flattening back down, not going into a curl. Just on our in-breath, on our out-breath, we just come back down to where we started, our original crooked position. So from now on, we're going to focus on our right side. And all you're going to do is arch, push into the right foot, send the right knee slightly forward of the left knee and arch at the same time. This just gives a different dynamic to the lower back. Different muscles switch on, get tighter. Every time you arch and breathe in, send the knee forward, push into the foot. We're trying to keep going forward rather than tilting that pelvis over to the left. You will feel a different movement in the pelvis. It'll kind of tilt at an angle. That's okay, you're going to still try and take it forward as long as it doesn't bring on any pain. Bring the knee back to where it started, flatten out. If your shoulders are still involved, that's great. Just make sure that you're making your focus your pelvis. You might leave the shoulders out just for a little bit. Send the pelvis forward in an arch, press into the right foot, send the knee forward. It's quite specific and it's very small. It just makes the lower back on the right switch on a little bit more. Your brain has to focus in that area a little bit more. It's going to lengthen into the groin a little bit more, which is always good for the trauma reflex. We get tight front of the hips, into the thigh, affects the knee. Very small, don't push too hard into the foot. Not trying to lift the bum off the floor. So I'm going to do 2 more on the right. You might feel your right calf switching on. Try and make sure it's switched off by the time you are back, so it's properly relaxed back into place. I'm making this last one on my right. It's great for the lower back muscles. And then we're going to go back to the arch and curl through the centre line. Maybe check in to see how you feel. See how it feels any different. Bring the shoulders back in. See how it feels to press the right shoulder back. You might feel you've got a bit more connection to that right shoulder now. Remember, somatics is small, it's slow, there's no rush about it. If you're a person that's always on the go, this might be a little bit too much for you. You might have to get your head around it by watching first. Listening, taking it all in, practicing a little bit. Maybe doing the 7-day challenge that you can find on here. So we're going to swap to the left. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the left. Press into the left foot, send the left knee forward, keep arching both sides of the pelvis forward. So not lifting that left bottom off the floor. Takes a little bit of practice, might trigger lower back pain, so make it small. Might trigger some pain in the front of the groin, or tightness, so don't force that. Might trigger something on the other side if your trauma reflex is the opposite side. You might have noticed that when you were doing the right, if your trauma is the left. So have this awareness of opposite sides of the body as well, what they're doing. Send the knee forward. Bring it back. Just flatten the back where it was to start with. It's the subtlest move that we do, really, the whole process. Takes a lot of concentrating, control. If it's easy, then you're probably not doing it right. Or you've been practicing it so much that your brain's really connected into this. We'll do one more and then we'll come back to the centre and then we'll bring ourselves into the curl as well. So once you're back to the centre and you've forgotten about sending that knee forward, just arching gently, pressing the shoulders back, seeing how that feels. You might have evened up, you might have gone back to being a bit more tilted to one side than the other. And then we're going to think about curling. So every time you breathe in, you're arching from now on. Every time you breathe out, follow that line of breath out and tilt the pelvis to follow it. So you're squeezing into the abdominal muscles, tilting the pelvis. We're not pushing into the feet, we're tightening into the abdominal muscles, and then we're letting them go gently as we arch in the opposite direction. So you might leave the shoulders out for a little bit while you're practicing the curl, and then you might start bringing the shoulders forward as well, just a little bit, tilting them forward. Back to the arms might come off the floor a little bit. Make sure you've got control of the abdominal muscles. They can go a lot further than the back muscles. There's a lot more room for manoeuvre, so you need to make sure you watch them, that you've got control over them. You might find you've got more control over one side than the other. Usually your trauma side, my right side is my trauma side, so I've got some right tightness through the front of my abdomen. So I have to keep an eye on that I'm not bouncing, it's not ratcheting, that my brain can focus on that area. So some of you might be wanting to use your arms, that's fine. If you want to roll your arms open as well as you arch the back, that's okay. If you want to bring them over and towards the body a little bit so the chest squeezes in, that's fine. We're not going to go into the flower today, we're just going to keep working on this length of this arch and curl for a little while, making sure we've got control over it, we know what's happening, we know which parts are working, which parts aren't, so that we can go into the diagonal in a little bit. So make sure that you've started to do some curling with the pelvis towards the belly button, even if it's in a small way. You've got an idea of what side's doing what, because you've watched your right side, you've watched your left side, you watched your right shoulder, your left shoulder. You can breathe in and out, you can soften the jaw. Just make sure you've got all those movements happening. Because we've had, some of you might not have done this since last Tuesday. So we just want to make sure we've got everything working again. Some of you might never have done it before, so you definitely want to make sure you've got everything under your control before we move on. So let's make this the last round. Wherever you've got to, whatever squeezing you're doing, just know where you've got control and where you haven't, and then let go gently, lengthen your legs down. We'll have a couple of rounds of breath doing nothing, where everything's settled into the floor. Maybe have a little look at what's happened. Already my right side's more soft, my left shoulder's more soft, my right hip. All the things that were stiff on last Tuesday, but by Friday we're happy as Larry. I've tightened up a bit over the weekend, but just been reminded, I've just reminded them again of what they should be doing, and they've got already started to soften, so that's great. That's the build up, that's the retraining, the repetition that reminds the brain of these patterns. So it's easier every time. So let's bring the knees up again. And we're going to start arching, curling. Make sure your feet are in line with the pelvis, parallel to each other. Arch and curling gently into just what you were just doing, and then we'll start with the right pelvis. So we're going to gently start tilting the right pelvis over to the right. So we're not worrying about pushing into the foot or the knee, it's nothing to do with that. We're just coming away from the midline that we've been going on, where we've been tilting both sides of the pelvis forward, and we're tilting the right side of the pelvis offline. So it's going more into the bottom muscles or onto the edge of the pelvis. You might find your left side lifts up a little bit, that's okay. And we're just going to very gently arch, breathe in, tilt that right pelvis off to the side. It might only go a little bit to start with. Some of you might not have any control over this as your pelvis tilts. Back muscles might not want to let go, or the abdominal muscles. That's okay, just feel into it. If you feel like it, press the left shoulder back into the floor as well. So just tilting that pelvis off to the right, the left will probably lift up a little bit, that's okay. Come back to the centre, do your curl. Come back to the centre. You'll probably find you can't arch in the opposite direction towards that left shoulder. Some of you will, because you'll have done this before and your pelvis would be getting the message. If you can't do that, just go back to the centre and tilt up both sides in the curl. Otherwise, put your left hand on your tummy, on your rib cage or on your belly, above your belly button. So top of your arm still on the floor, and then gently slide your hand towards the right hip as you breathe out, and your pelvis will probably want to aim towards that hand. And then just bring it back again as you press the left shoulder. So we're reaching the hand gently across our belly. It's just sliding across to that right hip. You might touch the right hip with the fingertips, and you might find that on the curl that right side of the hip lifts up diagonally. So we're doing a diagonal arch and curl, and we're using the hand to help us. We're squeezing into the chest muscles a little bit. That depends on how your chest muscles feel to reach across. And we're bringing the arm back down onto the floor, the upper arm, leaving the hand on the belly. So it's just sliding from rib cage on the left to the pelvis on the right as we breathe out. So we're arching on the in-breath, we're breathing out, sliding that left arm across the body in whatever small way you want to. It might be too much to tighten into the chest for the upper back to start with. And we're just going to keep doing that movement. And if you need to, you could turn the head to look over your left shoulder as you breathe in. If your shoulder's pressing back quite a lot, some of you might not need the hand to be on your belly. Some of you might be able to lift that pelvis up and take it diagonally across towards the left shoulder at the front as you curl. I'd be surprised if there's many of you find that easy. Get very tight into the abdomen from sitting. Doesn't really understand that movement very much. That's why we get tight hips at the front. So what we're going to do next is we're going to carry on that pattern, but we're going to lift our right knee as we curl. So this is going to make it a bit easier. We're going to lift our right knee and take it towards that hand. So the hand might end up touching the outside of the hip towards the bottom. And then as we come back to neutral and breathe in, and then send that pelvis off to the side again. So we're just doing a diagonal arch and curl, lifting the knee as we breathe out, hand coming across the body. You might find your shoulder comes towards that knee, and then putting the knee foot down gently as you get back to neutral, and then arching into the right pelvis. Try not to lift the knee till you've come back to neutral. Remember, the whole point of this is to tighten into an area of tightness and then lengthen out of it, because there's little reflexes that allow the muscles to lengthen a little bit more and learn again the lengths that they could possibly go to, where they might have been tightened for years. So we're going to repeat this quite a few times because this really plays nicely into the trauma reflex. Releasing around the sciatic nerve in the bottom as you arch into those bottom muscles, the hip muscles at the side. Tighten into the abdomen on a diagonal, so you engage your muscles that we only tighten into when we cross our legs, and then they really don't like it when we undo them. And we wonder why we get bottom pain. And we're playing gently into all the chest muscles as well. Any bouncing or ratcheting means you take the knee up too far. Doesn't have to come really right into the belly button or across to the opposite shoulder. If you're watching this, you'll see that I'm doing it in quite a strong way to bringing that knee across. Most of you shouldn't be watching this unless you're new to it. So I'm going to do one more. It's my last one. Some of you might do one more, and then I'm going to lengthen my right leg down first, lengthen my leg down, left leg down, and then I'm going to let go. Going to feel how my pelvis feels. It's going to feel a bit weird, a bit wonky possibly, a bit out of sorts. So I just want you to make sure, after we've had a couple of breaths and we start on the other side, that you're not pushing into any pain. That's my right hip. my right hip, because I was overemphasizing it a little bit while I was talking. I didn't concentrate on my pain levels. So when I put my leg down, it hurt in my groin. So I would make sure when I wasn't talking that I wouldn't bring my leg so high. I would have a real awareness of what's going on around that groin so that it didn't cause a problem. So if any of you are new to this and you're thinking, oh, I've got to do this like the gym and really force into things, then don't. Make it tiny, make it controlled. Don't lift your knee or don't go into a squeeze if it's too much. So let's concentrate on the left side now. So bringing the knees up again. Maybe getting ready for that hand sliding. So put your hand on your rib cage, let your upper right arm and shoulder rest onto the floor. My hands just kind of between my ribs on my abdomen where my stomach is. And then I'm going to gently arch and curl with that hand. Then I'm going to press my shoulders back. Do a couple of curls. Just see how my pelvis is. Got a lot of range of movement now from all that lower back work. So then I'm going to start gently tilting my left pelvis off to the side. Keep the knees where they are. Nothing's changing about the knee position. Just tilting away from the midline into the bottom muscle on the left. Pressing the right shoulder back as I do that, breathing in. And when I'm ready, when I've got an idea for that and I'm really feeling into how that feels and I'm slowly being able to make that slightly bigger each time, possibly, you might not, some of you might take a while to work into it, then I'll start sliding my hand across to encourage my left hip to come diagonally. Much happier on this left hip, so it wants to do it automatically. I probably wouldn't need the right arm, but I quite like the right arm coming across because it helps me squeeze into the chest. So if you start pressing that right shoulder back in any deep way as you arch and you breathe in, you might want to turn your chin towards that right shoulder. Try not to let the left knee fall out. If you're struggling with this, you might want to sit up and watch for a little while just to get the rhythm of it, understand what's happening. So I'm tilting into my left pelvis, pushing my right shoulder back as I breathe in. As I breathe out, my right arm's reaching across to squeeze into the chest and to encourage my left side of my pelvis to curl diagonally rather than up towards the left shoulder. Just going over towards the right shoulder. So we're getting diagonal arch and curls. At some point when I feel ready, and I'm more ready on this side than the other side, I'm going to bring my knee up. So that makes it easier for that pelvis to come diagonally because the knee is going to come up towards the right shoulder. Now only do that if your lower back's alright, if pelvis is okay. And it might be that you hardly can't bring the foot off the floor at all. We're still arching into that pelvis when we put the foot down. Shouldn't be any pulling anywhere, you should be stabilising the opposite hip. Shouldn't have to move anywhere because you've got enough control over the left hip that the right hip's not doing anything particularly. Keeping it nice and controlled, nice and small, nice and slow. There's no rush about this. We're working with the breath. This is the difference. You do all these moves in the gym in different ways. You might do 36 repetitions of this very quickly to tighten your abdominal muscles, but this is not about that. This is about lengthening the abdominal muscles. So keep noticing what's going on. Check into different areas. Keep your attention. If your attention is in your left hip, but there's no problem there, look at your right shoulder. You might find if it was your right trauma side in the hip, then it's your right trauma side in your neck and shoulder. So watch the chest muscles, watch how the upper back releases when you bring the arm forward. We're going to do 2 or 3 more of this. We're not going to lengthen our leg this time. Some of you might have brought that in anyway. You know, a couple of you might have thought to do that. That's fine. Nice thinking for yourselves. As long as you're in control, know what you're doing. You might have lengthened your left leg down at the same time, or taking your knee out to the side, some of you. So I'm going to finish there. I'm going to rest my legs down, let go, do nothing. Remember, this is about keeping a nervous system slowed down, getting those signals. It's not going to pick up information if it's heightened, if you're on high alert, if you're anxious. So we're really slowing this all down. So let's bring our legs up. We're going to leave the legs out of this for now, but we're just going to have them up in the crooked position. And we're going to do our steeple. And we're going to take our arms above our heads, interlock our fingers. If you can't do that, then bend your elbows, but interlock your fingers and just have your elbows and then your arms kind of making an O shape with where they meet each other. So the whole arm and the body would make kind of an O shape. Otherwise, you have a tall steeple above your chest, palms stuck together, elbows slightly locked. There's enough give that they could give, but we don't really want them to. And then we're just going to gently take the arms side to side. I've got loads of range of movement in my waist, so I'm already lifting my shoulders off the floor, but some of you might not be. You might just be following the arms with your chin. So chin stays in line with the hands. Try not to rock, try to bring the shoulder back to where it started and let go in the chest muscles, and then go to the other side. I want you to feel a release in the chest muscles. They're squeezing across the body. They're letting the shoulder blade soften and relax between the shoulder blades and in the shoulder blade, in the connection into the arms. So feel it up in your shoulders. And eventually what you'll start doing is once that starts loosening off, you'll look at the connection down into the lower back and the waist. Breathe in as you take the arms to the side, breathe out as you come back to the centre, because then you'll start feeling that breath in the abdomen, around the waist. Sink the shoulders back every time into the floor, soften the neck, soften the jaw. Keep the elbows locked out with a little bit of give. Don't force them to hyperextend. And once you've got used to doing that movement and sinking the shoulders back down, then start looking at the waist and the abdomen. You should be able to get a feel for this because of what you've just been doing with the diagonal arch and curl. You should feel this translate down into your abdomen, your lower back. Those people with the bent circle arms, you might find that you go a bit further, but make sure you come back and sink into the ground with your shoulder again. So some of you might end up with your upper arms on the floor if you've got bent elbows. If it's too much for some of you to hold your arms up, you could just hold your elbows with your hands opposite elbows and then just go from side to side like that. That's another modification. I know some of you got shoulder issues, so you might just gently go from side to side, but I want you to feel the translation down into your rib cage and your waist. It's not just about the shoulder girdle moving side to side, it's about that connection along the side of your body. So make sure you're getting that. You're feeling it in your upper back, you're feeling it down the side, you might feel the twist in the spine, down to the pelvis. Keeping the pelvis still, we're not tilting over onto the pelvis. Pelvis isn't rocking over, it's stable. If you need to bring your arms down at any point, bring them down. We're going to do 2 more on each side, whichever way you're doing this. We're going to bring the arms down when you've done that. Soften into the floor, gently bring them down, let go, take the legs down gently. Slide the knee out to the side, protect the lower back, do nothing. Couple of breaths where we do nothing so that the information is stored away. We've got getting nothing from the brain to get in the way, nothing from the body movement to get in the way. Everything is soft. Bringing the knees up again. Take the arms a bit wider of the body, bend the elbows if you need to, palms down if that helps you. Lengthen the neck a little bit, make sure everything's soft in the jaw, and then we're just going to stick the knees together. So I think we did this last week, but as we're working on the middle of the body, this is a great one to do. I want you to make sure that you don't stick your feet together if you've got any issues going on in the hips. If this is too tight for you in the groin or the hips, then you can have the feet further apart and then just follow the knees side to side. But I'm going to do it in a stronger way. Stick my feet together, stick my knees together, and then very gently go from side to side. I want you to feel this in the side of the legs and the bottom, because we've already done quite a bit of waist work. You might be feeling this from the waist straight away, but make sure you checked out your bottom and the side of your legs, your inner thighs. Get the messages there. Try and keep them stuck together rather than sliding up and down each other, the inner thigh. So some of you might be wanting to do this in a bigger way. You might find that your feet are just sliding across each other. So if that's the case, because your waist muscles are nice and controlled, your bottom muscles aren't hurting, then you could stack the feet. That does make it a lot stronger. Stacking the feet just means they stay stuck together. Bunion to bunion. Inner heel to inner heel. And then you take the knees side to side. So let's make sure that you sink the bottom back down as you come back. You might need to turn the head if it becomes a bit of a bigger movement, opposite direction. That's all right, because then at some point you can start focusing on the neck muscles for a little while. But not yet. Make sure you're not overdoing it. Already my right hip started to have a little complaint. The right side of my pelvis at the back is having a little complaint about that one when I go to the side. So I have to watch that as I take my legs to the left. So I won't focus on my neck for a little while. Just make sure that I'm not going too far into that and everything's all right. Because the minute you start hurting, the minute the brain becomes in fight or flight, not drastically, but it's started firing those things up. Those neurons up. So, oh, let's guard that area. We don't want it guarding, we want it letting go. So make it slow, make sure you come back to the centre before you go again. Breathe in as you go to the side. That will help lengthen through the groin. Breathe out as you come back to the centre. Helps everything settle down again. So make sure you're feeling this around the waist, the lower back. And then we're going to stop, make this the last one, and then we'll lengthen the legs down and then we'll let go. So time-wise, time's flown by. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the human X. So we're going to leave out all the side-lying stuff. I'll do that tomorrow. So if you're not doing it today, you can pick up on again tomorrow, watch it through again tomorrow. We'll do different stuff, but I'll focus more on the side tomorrow. So it'll be more of a trauma class again tomorrow. But I don't want to rush ahead, because when we do two-sided stuff, it takes quite a long time. So I think all that back work in the diagonal probably was good enough anyway to feel, noticing myself how much it loosened up my waist just to do the side-to-side stuff then is a great, is enough really. So we're going to just do the human X. So we're going to take our feet wide as the mat, side to side, opening them up in a V, and then we're going to do a similar thing with the arms coming up beside us, above 90 degrees, up to about 45 degrees from the head, in a big wide V. If you can't do that, if you can't go above 90 degrees, there's no point bringing the arms up. Bring them back by your side and you'll just lift the shoulder when I talk about reaching the arm. So the rest of us, we have our arms up, rested on the floor. They should be rested completely on the floor. They shouldn't be lifting up when we do this move. So if you're struggling, you might bend the arm a little bit. Or if it's too intense, too strong through the shoulders, take your arms back down by your side. So your legs are apart, your arms are wide, and you've made an X shape on the floor. Reach your left arm away, look towards it, stretch it away from you. I shouldn't use that word, should I? It feels like a stretch to start with while you're exploring. Come back to the centre with the head, reach away from you, turn the head towards that hand, that shoulder, and come back to the centre again. So we're really just concentrating on how much our chest muscles will let us open. If you're doing it with your arms by your side, you're lifting your shoulder up towards your ear and controlling the movement back down. Nothing's happening in the legs, they're just rested, soft, bottom muscles are soft. Breathe in as you move the arm away. So we're going to stop there, leave that arm where it is, and then we'll turn our attention to the right arm. So gently reach the right arm away, breathe in. Turn the head towards that arm, come back to the centre. You're really just getting a feel for how much you can move that arm without it affecting the chest too much and the shoulder blades, upper arms. It's quite a big, strong angle to be at. So a couple more times on the right. And then rest for a couple of breaths. Your arms are still where they are. And then we alternate. So those people lifting their shoulders will lift a shoulder to ear and then do the opposite shoulder. And then the rest of us are reaching our arms away to the corner of the room on that diagonal, coming back to the centre. So we're just focusing on the shoulders, the chest release, what the rib cage is doing, how it feels across the front of the chest, how it feels to turn our neck. Breathing in as we reach the side, breathing out as we come back to the centre. So what I want you to start thinking about, once you've got that movement quite comfortably, any problems, any issues in the arms, then maybe take them down by your side. If you've got any problems going on in your fingers or along the arms or tennis elbows or anything happening in the neck. So make sure you get a measure of that and you're not trying to cheat yourself. Maybe change the angle down a little bit, but not down to 90. Once you can start feeling that you're getting some release up into the shoulder blades, everything's smooth and controlled, start looking around your waist. So on the arm, the side of the body that your arm's moving, look at that connection into the lower back, the waist, what's happening across the front of the body, the pull that you're feeling. Some of you might notice that your hip moves away as you reach. It goes down a little bit further towards the foot on that side. So I want you to start emphasising that by moving that leg on the same side away. So do the same movement in the leg as you're doing in the arm. And coming back to the centre. So as you reach the right arm into the corner of the upper part of the room, you're reaching the leg down into the opposite corner on the same side of the room. And what you should feel is some lengthening down to the pelvis, up to the rib cage. And then if you have a look at the other side, you should notice that it's shortening because the pelvis will be coming towards the ear, sliding along the floor up towards the ear. So we're getting some pelvic movement now. We've started it ourselves by actively moving the leg away, And if you actively move the leg away, lengthen it away from the pelvis diagonally, and do the same with the arm, you'll see a shortening in the waist on the opposite side. And I want you to focus on that shortening. There's some tightening going on in that waist. I want you to be able to lengthen out of it without any bouncing. And if you concentrate on the lengthening side, then you won't be able to control that pelvis back to where it started on the shortening side. So watch the shortening side. The more it gets shorter from you reaching the leg and the arm away on the opposite side, and I want you to have full control over that pelvis releasing. And that's the side you're watching, and then you watch its lengthening, and then turn your attention to the shortening side. So we've got lengthening on the left side, shortening on the right, vice versa, from moving our arms and legs away. If you're doing it with just the shoulders lifting towards the chest, you should still be to the ear, you should still be having the same thing happen, as you're still moving the leg away. Make sure you've got control of your neck, you're not hurting your neck as you move to look towards the arm. Make sure the arms have come back to where they started. This works particularly well on a shiny floor. But you have to concentrate a bit more. So once your arms have reached their kind of full lengthening, you can shorten into that waist a little bit more on the opposite side. Actively do it, squeeze into it. You can feel that happening. You've got more control. The brain's got an idea of what's going on. So you can actively squeeze that pelvis up towards the rib cage on the shortening side. And then make sure you've got control over it, releasing. We're going to do 2 more on each side. When you've done your last round, just make sure everything's softened, bend the elbows, slide the arms down gently. Your neck's been squeezed into that position for a while. Bring them down gently, slowly bring the legs back together. Rest, rest, rest into the floor. And let go. So we're going to scan our bodies again. So we're going to start the right foot this time. So we'll start the right foot and we'll scan all the way up that right leg, right leg. I kind of like doing a little spiral round, a little whiz round in each section. See what's going on. My little visible eye, it's kind of going around each part, like I'm wrapping a bandage around it to see what's going on in each part. Travelling all the way up the body, noticing if anything's changed from when you started, if things feel softer, less tight. Check out the arm as well, side of the head. When you get to the top of the head, then travel down the left side, not the left right side, the left side. And then take the arm in as you go down, make sure you get in the back of the front. Try not to fall asleep in the process, so if you want to, do. So some of you might want to stay lying like this. You might want to drift off. You might be enjoying having that slow down, calm feeling, that meditative feeling, that energy whizzing about your body, feeling slow, feeling calm. Stay there, feel it, enjoy it. Don't take any more notice of me. Switch the volume off, do whatever you want. And just enjoy yourself. Otherwise, the rest of us, maybe one or two of us, or me, maybe just want to slowly think about moving your body a little bit, moving your fingers and toes with the view that you're going to come over onto your side in a minute. I always like to bring my knees up gently first so that I can keep the head down. Turning over onto your sides when you feel ready, resting there till you feel like you might be able to sit up. Couple of breaths, and think about pushing up with your upper arm. Sitting for a bit. I'm going to slide over to the phone. So I didn't get as many moves in as I wanted to, but that's okay because you'll have to come back tomorrow or watch tomorrow's video, because I will do those side lying ones. We'll get a bit more of the trauma reflex. Obviously the classes are shorter so that I can do more classes. So join me every day. It'd be lovely to have you here. If you're resting, carry on resting. If you're not resting and you want to ask me any questions, then do. I'll try and bring my little comments back. Got anything to say, or you want to ask me anything, then let me know. Otherwise, I'll be here again tomorrow and we'll do the other trauma reflex moves. We'll go through the arch curl a bit quicker and we'll get more onto the side lying stuff because they're quite strong and they're really good for lengthening down the side of the body. Maybe we'll just spend all of this week doing the trauma reflex. Who knows? So 5 to 6 tomorrow. For a 6 o'clock start, we'll just go through the moves again, and then we'll do the same on Thursday with the different moves, and we'll do Friday as well. If you're new to this and you were just watching, then go back and watch it afterwards tomorrow or well, whenever you like, but have a go at doing it rather than just watching it. And lots of love to you. Stay safe. I'm going to go and have some salmon now. You wanted to know that, didn't you? So have a lovely evening and I'll see you all soon. Lots of love.